In May 2016, Reuters reported this article. Jewish leaders call for UK's Labour Party to act on anti-Semitism cancer. The British Labour's leadership suspended Livingstone, and ordered an inquiry into anti-Semitism in the party. Following comments the ex-mayor made in a radio interview. That Hitler had supported Zionism in the 1930s before he went mad and ended up killing 6 million Jews. But some Jewish leaders say, Labour has more than a fringe problem, with anti-Zionism often used as a cover for being anti-Jewish. What you are about to see is a debate between British politicians of the time. Zionism and Nazism collaborate?
George Galloway is one of quite a few people today saying Ken Livingstone talked about the facts. Why do you believe it was anti-Semitic?
Well, George expressed it, as ever, far better than Ken Livingstone. George said, Zionism and Nazism are two sides of the same coin. Now, that is clearly not true. Nazism was intended to destroy the Jewish people. That was his intention. The problem is that people use anti-Zionism to conceal their anti-Semitism. You say you're anti-Zionist, well, what you're really saying is you're against the existence of the State of Israel. If you don't want Israel to exist, that is clearly anti-Semitic. It's not a kind of vaguely nice opinion. It's actually a very bad opinion.
George Galloway?
No, Zionism and Israel are political constructs. If you were for the downfall of the Soviet Union, as John was, that didn't mean you hated Russian people. In fact, you could say it meant the opposite, that you wanted to liberate the Russian people from the political system under which they lived. Ken Livingstone doesn't have a racist bone in his body. In fact, he'd still be the mayor of London if he hadn't gone out on a limb on anti-racist causes over and over again. We cannot allow this conflation. It's dangerous for everybody. Being against Israel is not being against Jews. Many Jews are against Israel. You've just had one on the screen, Lenny Brunner.
Do you accept that you can be anti-Israel without being anti-Semitic, or do you believe that's the lie?
The question is not about whether you're for or against Israel. People actually conflate the Israeli state, the Israeli government, actions of the settlers, the actions of Likud, the statements of Benjamin Netanyahu. People who don't want Israel to exist, among whom are a very large number of people on the ultra-left. I don't say George is one of those, but there are people for whom anti-Zionism is a shield behind which they march. They call Israel a country with its own Supreme Court that finds against its own government. They call that an apartheid state.
Do you accept that some people do that?
There are some. The anti-Semitism exists. It's always existed. The Daily Mail used to fund it.
But this is a on the left problem, in particular, that some people hide behind being, anti-Israel when they are in fact.
Well, there may be some, though. I have to tell you, in all honesty, I've never met one, and Ken Livingstone certainly isn't one, and neither is Jeremy Corbyn or John McDonnell. This is a synthetic argument that's being generated here. It's a smoke.
But it's about offence, isn't it? It's about saying, things that people find deeply hurtful.
Well, they've seized on legitimate anxieties amongst Jewish people and hurt feelings, and exploited it.
But what was his need to bring it up? I mean, why mention Hitler in that answer yesterday?
Oh, it's something to do with his age. I reference the Second World War all the time. It was our finest hour, the defeat of fascism, the greatest victory of the 20th century, and so on. These are perhaps age-related points.
John McTurnan?
It was an absurd thing to say. It was as if to say, we don't really object to Hitler's earlier work when he seemed to be pro-Zionist, but a bit later he went mad. I mean, Hitler was a racist and anti-Semite throughout his entire career.
Of course.
To name him, to try to defend Naz Shah, to try to defend the Labour Party from accusations of an anti-Semitic crisis inside the party, is not just silly. It's actually Ken showing he probably should no longer contribute to public debate.
I mean, George Galloway, John McTurnan quoted you actually earlier. I mean, you had said Nazism and Zionism were two sides of the same coin.
Well, they actually did mint a coin to use in the program, the Havara program, to ship Jews out of Germany. Here's the point.
But do you think that some people might take offence to that?
No, Zionism and Nazism, for a brief period of time, cooperated to get Jews out of Germany because both of them believed that Jews should not be in Germany. The Zionists believed they should be in Palestine for one set of reasons, and the Nazis believed
But
it
to say
for
Hitler
an entirely...
supported Zionism is surely a perversion.
well,
and Zionism was
they
about
cooperated.
liberating Jews
No,
from persecution.
it's not, look, the Zionists were not Nazis and the Nazis were not Zionists. And actually, if you look at the transcript, Livingston never said that they were. He said that they cooperated together, and they did. That's a matter of historical fact.
He said Hitler supported
You don't actually need to bring the historian from America. You could bring many historians from Israel. This is not a secret. It's only a secret to those now waking up to it. They were cooperating because they had the same idea, that the European Jews should not be in Europe, they should be in Palestine.
Now, what Jeremy Corbyn has said, and I think George Galloway has also said, is actually this is about you attacking Corbyn.
Jeremy Corbyn is doing a perfectly good job of attacking himself. I don't need to do anything. His inability to act with decisiveness about Naz Shah was telling. His silence today is telling. He's a man who pals around with terrorists. He calls Hamas and Hezbollah his friends. He palled around with the Frisian IRA. He's a man who is not trusted and can't be trusted. He can't bring himself to say the word Israel. He was at the Labour Friends of Israel fundraiser last year in the Labour Party conference, couldn't say the word Israel. He does not want to see a two-state solution in the Middle East. He wants to see one state, and that state will be Palestine.
Let's briefly talk about foreign affairs. Why did you call Hamas and Hezbollah your friends?
What I did was spoke at a meeting in which I said I wanted all people involved in the Middle East issue to come together and be able to have a discussion, to be able to discuss. Can you allow me to finish? Do you mind?
Yeah, but I asked you a question and you're ignoring it.
No, I'm not ignoring the question. If you'd give me a minute, I'll answer it. The point is this. Listen for a minute, if you don't mind. I spoke at a meeting about the Middle East crisis in Parliament, and there were people there from Hezbollah, and I said I welcomed our friends from Hezbollah to have a discussion and a debate. And I said I wanted Hamas to be part of that debate. I have met Hamas in Lebanon, and I've met Hezbollah in this country in Lebanon. I've also met...
So are they your friends or not?
Can I finish?
Are they your friends or not?
Can I finish? I've also met...
Well, you can't if it's a long answer.
Look, the issue is this. You are not prepared to discuss the whole issue of the Middle East. You're not prepared to discuss the wider question. The wider question is Hamas, Hezbollah are part of a peace process. Even the former head of Mossad says that there has to be talks involving Hamas. I've also had discussions with people from the right in Israeli politics who have the same view, possibly, that the state of Israel should extend from the river to the sea, as it is claimed people from the Palestinian side do.
And I'm very happy for you to make all of that clear. But I'm saying you use these words, friends. Now, are you saying they're not your friends?
Jeremy Corbyn was elected Labour Party leader in September 2015 with a high turnout. Since then, he has served as party leader until 2020, but his comments at that time are still the subject of criticism for being anti-Semitic. The Labour Party suspended his party membership and later reinstated him, but the leadership did not allow him to return to the parliamentary group, and he became an independent in the Congress. And now, he is at the center of a massive demonstration of support for Palestine in the UK.
Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. I'm joined now by Jonathan Goldstein, the former chair of the Jewish Leadership Council and co-owner of Chelsea Football Club. Jonathan, great to see you. What was your reaction as a member of the Jewish community, a leading member, has done a lot of work for the Jewish community? What did you feel about this march at the weekend? And the marches generally, with the volume of people who are turning up, spewing anti-Semitism?
Well, let me start by saying that the far right who turned up on Saturday are no friends of anyone.
Right.
No one welcomes that. It's hateful. It's absolutely the epitome of everything that no one wants to see in British society. Racism at its forefront. Really, that needs to be condemned by everybody before you start. But in terms of the general rallies, well, obviously they've caused great concern to the Jewish community. Now, I am convinced that there are a significant number of people on those rallies that genuinely want to see a peaceful situation within Israel and with the Palestinians. But I'm afraid that there are a significant number of people encouraged invariably by the leadership of those rallies who are Hamas supporting, who are supporting and espousing hateful and genocidal messages on that rally. And that needs to be condemned. And the reason it continues is because the leadership of those rallies continues to encourage.
And when you have
that
somebody like my next guest, Jeremy Corbyn, who's speaking there, but not publicly condemning those people, who are the minority, let's be clear, but he's not publicly condemning them, what would your message to him be?
Well, the message is very simple. If it was any other minority in this country, Mr. Corbyn would ensure that they did not feel victimised, they did not feel bullied, they did not feel intimidated, so that the Jewish community does not feel safe going into London during these weekends. Piers, you're a straightforward talking human being. We all know that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, where the population of Israel is 10 million, of which 8 million almost are Jewish people, means a land free of Jewish people. It means it can mean nothing else. It is a genocidal message.
I am disgusted at the British political establishment. What they've done is said we will support Israel without any conditions, without any caveat, we will support them, knowing full well that 4,000 people have died in Gaza in the past 2 weeks. 1,000 died in Israel as a result of the attacks in Negev. That was wrong, absolutely wrong, and I totally condemn that. But the assault on Gaza and the deaths that are going on, and the stories I'm picking up are just heartrending. I have people, friends in Gaza I've known for many years. They're just sending me messages of total desperation. Artists whose work we'll never see again. Families whose all the children killed by Israeli bombardment. And the strategy of driving the Gaza population further and further south, building up in this massive force of people at the Rafah crossing. Whatever Egypt says, at some point, those people are going to cross. They're going to be in the Sinai. And are we going to see the creation of another Gaza in the Sinai? This is appalling. And today, finally, after a lot of good work by the World Health Organization and the UN, and many others, the crossing at Rafah was open for the vehicles to come in, 20 of them. 20 vehicles for the desperate needs of 2 million people. There are more trucks delivering food to supermarkets on the Holloway Road in my constituency every day than there are for 2 million people in Gaza. It's not even 5% of the needs. And water is now so short that the average person in Gaza, if they're lucky, gets 1.5 litres a day for everything. That is what is now happening. And we are bystanders and observers. All we can do is raise our voice here. And I was just beyond disgusted when Britain abstained at the UN on a call for a ceasefire. And President Biden instructed the US delegate to veto the majority decision, which was to call for a humanitarian pause. And then both Biden and Sunak went to Tel Aviv to say, we fully support you. Support what? The killing of civilians, the occupation, the war crimes, the illegality of it. But you know what? In this pretty desperate time, it's turned opinion round. The size of demonstrations in Morocco, in Egypt, all over the Middle East, and even a demonstration in the middle of the Capitol in Washington in support of Palestinians. The Palestinian cause will never go away.